On this episode of Doing the Most, we're making a recipe from my new mead book. We're making Honey Perry. This and many other recipes can be found in my ebook, You Can Make Mead. It's available on my website at doingthemost.org/book. Pick up your copy today. It's on sale for $9.99. You can get it as a PDF or you can get it from the Kindle store. So what is a Perry? Perry is a cider, kind of, made from pears. You see, pears and apples are in the pome family of fruits, and so you can make a Perry out of pears. Perries can be more difficult to balance because they have a lighter, more delicate flavor profile. So sometimes you might need some aggressive tannin additions, or you might need some acid to kind of balance out some of that subtlety. In this video, we're going to use a mix of pears. I like to make sure I'm using some tart pears. You want to make sure you have some tart pears in there too, because it helps provide some of that acidity. Otherwise, you might find yourself balancing with a little bit of malic or citric acid before you bottle. It's really important to nail your acid balance prior to bottling, because once it's bottled up, can't change much. In this Perry, we're going to be using fruits with the peels in addition to some tannin powder. Both of those are going to improve the longevity of the flavor profile. So that way it's not super watery. The tannin in the peels and that tannin that we're adding give it a little staying power on your palate so you can really taste the flavor of those pears. We're going to be back sweetening with erythritol. That way we have some sweetness in there to complement the fruit, and that way it will stay sweet even though we're going to be bottle conditioning this using fermentable sugars. More on that later. Now the book recommends TOSNA, which is a staggered nutrient addition schedule where you would add about 3 to 4 additions of nutrient over the course of primary fermentation. We are going to be front loading in this video though, meaning all of our nutrient, all 4.5 grams, is going to go in right at the 24-hour mark, right at the beginning of primary. So let's quickly take a look at our ingredients.
The ingredients for our Honey Perry are 1.25 pounds of honey, 3 pounds of mixed varietal pears, half a gram of citric acid, 1 gram of wine tannin, spring water, and for our yeast, we'll be using US 05 ale yeast. We'll also be adding nutrients. In the book, I recommend using TOSNA, but here we're going to do front-loaded nutrients. That's 4.5 grams of Fermade O added at 24 hours. We're going to be bottle conditioning this, so for back sweetening, we're going to use 3 ounces of erythritol to sweeten it, and we'll be adding 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar per bottle. The yeast will eat this and turn it into carbon dioxide, so in 4 to 6 weeks, we will have sparkling Honey Perry.
Lastly, I want to stress sanitizing. I like to use StarSan. It's a no rinse sanitizer to make sure all my gear and equipment is sanitized. That helps us ensure that the only buggies that are inside of our mead are the yeast that we put in there. We don't want any outside infections from stuff that's just living in your environment getting in there and causing a bacterial infection or mold or anything like that. Always make sure all your gear is sanitized. Most of your efforts in making this Perry comes down to chopping up all that fruit. So let's take a look at how this mead is made.
As we begin, our honey's already in the bucket, so we'll just add in our tannin. Let's throw in our acid, and I'm throwing our yeast right on top. Then all of our water goes in, and we'll stir to combine, making sure all that honey is blended into the water. Once that's complete, we'll start coring and chopping our pears. We want to keep as much of the pear weight as we can, so just remove the cores, tops, and bottoms, and put everything else in, including the skin of the pears. Those provide some really nice tannin. It's really helpful if you can find some tart pears. If not, you might need to add a little bit of malic acid or lemon juice to give this just a little bit of an acid adjustment. Fortunately, my pears had some nice tartness to them, so the acid balanced pretty well. At the 24-hour mark, we will add our nutrient addition. Again, this is 4.5 grams of Fermade O, and that just goes right in. That'll make sure our yeast have everything they need to have a healthy fermentation.
This is an auto siphon. It's what we're going to be using to transfer our mead. This one's a 5-gallon auto siphon, but it works on the same premise as a 1-gallon. You attach your racking hose to this end, then when you pump it, it creates a vacuum that sucks the mead up, in, and down. And as long as the mead you're transferring is higher than the vessel you're transferring to, gravity will do the rest and pull all that mead up and out and down into your secondary vessel.
2 weeks later, fermentation has completed, so we'll use our auto siphon to rack that from primary into our secondary vessel. Just give it a couple pumps and that'll get the flow started, and we'll transfer that over. And you may need to tilt that at the end just to make sure you get every last bit. Next, we gotta add our sweeteners. So here goes in 3 ounces of erythritol. And usually, eventually this will dissolve. If you're in a hurry, go ahead and stir it, or, pro tip, put your erythritol in a blender and powder it up and it will dissolve immediately. Then we put on our airlock and we'll put that in the fridge to cold crash for a couple of weeks. And a check of our gravity with the hydrometer shows that it's just below 1.000. Once that's clear, it's time to get that into bottles.
This is my bottling wand. It's got a little valve on the end of that. You connect it to your racking tubing, and then when you press down on the valve, you can fill your bottles from the bottom. So you get your siphon started just like normal, but with this valve open in the bottom of a bottle, and it will start filling that bottle from the bottom, and then when you let go, the valve closes, and that way you don't overfill your bottles, and when you pull this out, it'll be filled just to the right height.
So I sanitized about 10 bottles, and then I put my granulated sugar into each of the bottles, and then just use my bottling wand to bottle on top of that sugar. It will dissolve, and again, like I said, the yeast will eat that sugar and turn it into CO2, so our bottles are carbonated. Let it sit at room temperature for 4 to 6 weeks so that carbonation can build up and dissolve into suspension, making you a sparkling mead.
So how's bottle conditioning work? Well, first we sweeten it with a non-fermentable sweetener, like erythritol, and then we add 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar for every 12-ounce bottle. The yeast will consume that sugar, turn it into a little bit of alcohol, but also CO2, and that carbon dioxide gets suspended in your mead and makes a sparkling mead on the other end of things. That process takes 4 to 6 weeks. Well, what do you say? I think it's time for a taste. Doesn't that sound just remind you of summer? It's almost time. Got a nice, just slight reddish hue there, which comes from those red pears that I had in there. Really pretty color. It's like off red, if you could, coin a term. It smells like pears. I think that's so cool how the aromatic retention is so strong, and part of that is because we have such a big fruit load in there. And pear is about all you get. It smells like a fleshy, crunchy, crisp pear. Not too much honey on the nose. It's so delicate. Mostly what it tastes like is a honey seltzer, like a session mead. But there's just that little of pear that sits right on top. Now, my pears weren't like wildly tart, so I can see how some folks might want just a little bit of citric acid, maybe a squeeze of lemon in the carboy, or just some slight powdered citric acid adjustment. Tartaric might be a good choice too, if your pears don't already bring a whole lot of acid to the table. And the Perrys I've had before are made with pear juice, not necessarily with whole fruit sitting in honey water. And so it's also difficult to compare it to other Perrys because usually they bring some of that kind of pulpy, chalky, gritty character of the pear, which is really nice in a drink because it creates a beverage that kind of lingers a little bit. This is not that. This is a session mead that has pear flavor in it. And it's made to be light and delicate and refreshing like that. And if you wanted to really amplify it up, you could obviously use a pear juice base with the same recipe, have a little bit of a higher ABV, but have a little bit more of that bulkier pear flavor. But as it stands, I like this nice and light and nuanced. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for future updates on Doing the Most content. And I hope you're enjoying the book, and thank you to all of you out there who have bought the book. It really means a lot to me, and I'm glad people are having fun with it, making the recipes, and enjoying the content. Until next time, happy brewing, and cheers.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.